Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I need to tell you about the most unbelievable week of my life. It all started on a Tuesday, one of those grey, drizzly evenings where you just want to curl up on the couch. My golden retriever, Max, who usually loves a good cuddle, was acting really strange. He kept pacing back and forth to the front door, whining and scratching at the wood. I tried to calm him down, offering his favorite toy, but he wasn't having it. He'd just stare at me with these big, pleading eyes and then nudge his head towards the door again. Honestly, at first I was a little annoyed. "Max, buddy, what is it?" "There's nothing out there," I said, trying to pull him away. But his persistence was something else. It wasn't his usual "I need to go" potty whine. This was different, more urgent. He started letting out these low, anxious barks. The rain was coming down harder now, and a little flicker of concern started to replace my annoyance. What if an animal was hurt? Or worse, what if someone needed help? Taking a deep breath, I finally gave in. Okay, I'll look. I unlatched the deadbolt, Max practically vibrating with anticipation beside me. As I cracked the door open, a blast of cold, damp air hit me, but it wasn't the weather that made me freeze. It was a sound. A faint, whimpering sound, almost like a kitten carried on the wind. Max shot out onto the porch, his nose to the ground, and started sniffing frantically around the big potted fern I have near the steps. My heart started pounding. I pulled the door open wider, flipping on the porch light. And what I saw, well, it's something I'll never forget. Curled up in a shivering little ball, tucked behind the leaves of the fern, was a baby. But it wasn't any ordinary baby. It was tiny, covered in a soft, downy layer of brownish fur, with huge, dark, soulful eyes that were staring right at me, glistening with tears. Its face was surprisingly human-like, but its hands and feet were oversized and leathery. It was ... a baby Bigfoot. I know how that sounds. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I wasn't seeing it with my own two eyes. My first instinct was pure shock. My mind was racing, trying to process the impossible creature huddled on my porch. It let out another little cry, a sound so full of fear and loneliness it broke my heart in two. Max, bless his golden heart, was already in protective mode. He lay down next to it, not touching, but just being a warm, calming presence, and started licking its tiny, furry hand. That simple act of kindness from my dog snapped me out of my shock. This creature, whatever it was just a baby, and it was cold, scared, and alone. I couldn't just leave it out here. I quickly looked round the yard, my eyes scanning the dark tree line at the edge of my property. Was its mother nearby? Was she watching? I didn't see or hear anything but the rain. My protective instincts kicked in. Very slowly, so as not to scare it, I knelt down. "Hey there, little guy," I whispered. "It's okay, you're safe." It flinched at my voice but didn't try to run. It just watched me with those giant, ancient-looking eyes. Carefully, I scooped up the little creature. It was surprisingly light, no heavier than a bag of sugar, and it trembled in my arms. It smelled like damp earth, pine needles, and something else, ... Something wild and ancient that I couldn't quite place. I wrapped it in the throw blanket I'd had on the couch and brought it inside, Max trotting faithfully at my heels. I closed and locked the door, my mind a complete whirlwind. What had I just done? I had a baby Bigfoot in my living room. I set it down gently on the rug in front of the fireplace, and it immediately curled into the blanket, its whimpers quieting down to soft, sleepy sighs. I had no idea what to do. You can't exactly Google how to care for a baby Bigfoot. I warmed up some milk, not knowing if it was the right thing, and put it in a shallow bowl. The little guy, who I started calling Buddy, cautiously lapped it up. For the next few days, my life turned upside down. I called in sick to work, telling my boss I had a bad flu. My house became a secret nursery for a cricket. Buddy was incredibly smart. He learned to recognize my voice within a day and would make happy little cooing sounds when I came into the room. He and Max became inseparable, playing gentle games of chase around the living room. It was magical, but also filled with a constant low-level anxiety. Every night, I'd stare out at the woods, wondering where his family was. As much as I was growing to love this little creature, I knew he didn't belong with me. He belonged with his own kind out in the wild. Then, on the fifth night, it happened. Max started whining at the door again, but this time it was different. It wasn't anxious. It was ... expectant. I went to the window and peered out into the darkness. And there, standing just at the edge of the woods, were two towering, shadowy figures. They were massive, easily 8 or 9 feet tall, covered in the same dark fur as Buddy. My blood ran cold, but I wasn't scared. I could feel it. They weren't a threat. They were parents. They were looking for their child. Buddy must have sensed them too, because he ran to the door and started making a series of soft, clicking noises I'd never heard before. One of the large figures let out a low, rumbling call in response. It was time. With a heavy heart, I picked Buddy up one last time and hugged him close. He nuzzled his furry face into my neck, and I swear he knew. I opened the door, and Max and I walked him out onto the lawn. I set him down, and he immediately bounded towards the tree line, towards the outstretched arms of his mother. She gently scooped him up, holding him close, while the other figure, his father, I assumed, looked directly at me. He didn't move, just stood there for a long moment. And in that silence, I felt an overwhelming sense of ... gratitude. A silent thank you that transcended species, that transcended language. Then he raised a large hand in a gesture that looked remarkably like a wave, and just as quickly as they appeared, they turned and vanished back into the shadows of the forest, taking their baby home. I stood on my lawn for a long time, Max leaning against my leg, just staring at the empty woods. My life is back to normal now, but it's different. It's bigger. Sometimes, when the wind is just right, I think I can hear a low, rumbling call from deep in the woods, and I smile. I'll never forget my little visitor. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it sounds crazy, but it's my truth. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more adventures. See you next time.